Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and give a nice round of applause to the lovely Camille Keaton and Geretta Geretta.
Is this on?
It is on.
Oh my God, it's on.
Camille, is yours on? Let's bring that to you.
Hey, everybody in the back of that room, you might want to know about some horror. Women in horror. The panel's about to start. Ooh.
All right, welcome to ShakaCon 2016, our 5th year here in Charleston, West Virginia.
Hey.
We have some very awesome guests tonight on the Women in Horror panel. We are going to just let Miss Geretta Geretta and Miss Camille Keaton introduce themselves. Would you like to begin, Geretta?
Well, I guess so. You've already said my name twice, and then I say it again, so that's 4 times. I guess that means it's time to introduce.
And then it means it's something that's going to be summoned.
So, yes, I'm Geretta Geretta, and some of you know me, that's why you're here. I am an American actress that spent the majority of her life in Italy. I went there as a model, and that was going just well until I happened to meet some people like Dario Argento and Lamberto Bava and Bruno Mattei, and those are some things you can ask me about. And I was in over 10 feature films in horror, post-apocalyptic, and sci-fi, and I do speak fluent Italian if you want to throw a trick question at me.
Meravigliosa. Marvelous. Yeah. I'm Camille Keaton. I'm famous. I'm most noted for I Spit on Your Grave. And, thank you. I also started my career in Italy and learned to speak some Italian. Loved being in Italy. And like being in the film business, and I also like being here in Champagne. Are we in Champagne?
It's always champagne, darling. It's always champagne.
Champagne.
We like being here in
West
Charleston,
Virginia.
drinking champagne.
Yeah, which is a beautiful state.
Yes.
And my first time here.
What did you ladies find? You both had careers in Italy. So can we kind of talk about the difference between the industry there as opposed to the work that you've done here in America?
So take a few pictures. Yes.
Okay, and I think I was there a little bit earlier than you. Too bad. I had a lot of fun over there. Well, it's different. Over there, when I went to see about a job, I just showed them my photograph. I didn't have to read. If they liked me, they put me in the movie. I even tried to talk a director out of using me in the first movie that I did, which is called What Have You Done to Solange? And I said, I don't think I can do that part. I've never had an acting lesson. Oh yes, you can do this part. I will be directing you. And I said, okay. And I must say, he did a great job of directing me. And it's a very good movie. And
Well, how does that compare to you, Geretta?
Well, I think some of that is still pertains to Italian cinema. The idea of auditioning, and that's what she meant by reading. You don't really audition for films in the American sense, where you would practice a line, walk in, and say something in front of a camera. Italians feel like, and even if it's not Italians, people working in the Italian film industry, they feel like a little bit like Woody Allen. They should know your work already. How about that? They have already seen what you can do, so they're not expecting that you can do all of that took, 30 or 40 people in a previous movie in front of a video camera. So they know your work, they've already decided they'd like you, and I think she would feel the same. You begin to be a part of a family, and it's more about realizing, do you want to be with this person for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, or a year, depending on the production, because they know your work, and that's sort of nice. The other nice thing in Italian industry cinema is, yeah, you can have a drink while you're working.
Yes.
Okay, that means, you know, if you're allowed to, and if one's personal statement says you can have it, you know, don't if you can't. But what I mean by that is in Italy, there really isn't the concept of drinking to excess. A glass of wine, and really it's one, is with lunch. And when you get your lunch, the lunch comes in a box, and they say, do you want bianco or do you want rosso? And that means two things. Do you like your pasta in white sauce? I happen to be a person that doesn't care for tomato sauce. Or do you want your pasta in red sauce, which will be some form of tomato? And it also applies to the wine, because of course they're matching it correctly. The white wine with the white sauce pasta, and the red wine with the red sauce pasta. And I was there 10 years. Never a problem, never somebody had too many drinks. It just doesn't exist. So, you know, you couldn't even say that. When I left Rome and started doing auditions in Los Angeles, and you'd have to meet it, because at a certain point people do know you. And I'd order a glass of wine at lunch, and my agent went, oh, you're so European. You don't do that. You have a glass of tea.
It means something different.
Yeah, it means something different here. So you learn.
But in Europe, this is what teachers in the teachers' lounge at school will have a glass of wine.
Absolutely.
Completely different.
Completely different. But in addition to that, the shoots are shorter. There was always a budget issue. Things go faster, and you would say the same. When you basically feel adored. It doesn't mean you don't have problems, because I know you've been through some strenuous films, as have I.
Yeah.
But it's just a warmer, family sort of thing. Whereas I think American independent film, particularly American independent horror film, we do the same. Because it's usually a bunch of people that are together for a reason. But in addition, in Italy, it kind of goes all the way across. You're a family, and you tend to work with the same people over and over again.
Now, to kind of come back to what you said, in Demons, very quickly you become this different character.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of makeup.
Yes, definitely.
This very physical for you that you experienced for the entire rest of the filming.
Yes.
And Miss Camille and I Spit on Your Grave, once you get to about the first third of it, you have this very harrowing scene that also is very physical and
That lasts forever.
and it seems to last twice as much as it actually does. When you watch it, I'm sure when you were actually doing it.
When you were shooting it, how long did that take?
Too long. Yeah, I was really getting tired. And in fact, I thought the director had said to me, we are already finished with we've done all the rape scenes. And so when he came up with this last rape scene, I said, well, I thought that you said we were already done with the rape scenes. We should back up a little bit. Mirror and I did get involved. Kind of before and during, but mostly during the making of the film. So it brings a different dynamic between you and the director. I don't recommend it on a film like that anyway. And so, because you go off and throw a fit and cry for 45 minutes, I don't want to do this for rock rape. Anyway, so I go back and I say, okay. If you'll show me how to do it, demonstrate it for me, please.
Oh, that's a good one. That'll cut things down.
And he said, oh, okay, it's all right. And he starts to take his clothes off. And he starts to do, gets down to his skivvies. And I said, stop there, no more. And he lies down on the rock and turns over and, he did skin himself up a little bit. I kind of felt guilty later about that.
I think that would be a good practice to make the directors do everything that we have to do. I bet a lot of things would be a little less harrowing.
Yes, for as demanding a role as that, absolutely. There's no reason not to have that reciprocity.
Well, I mean, when I asked him about have we finished with all of the rape scenes, and he said yes, I think he wasn't listening to me. That does happen, and it just went in one ear and out the other, and I thought he meant what he said, and I said, oh, I think he may have forgotten about that other one. Let's hope so.
And has that happened to you when you've had a limit, when you're like, I'm done with these contacts, I'm done with these prosthetics, and I need to add this? We need to rap. We need to rap.
Well, I had a couple of differences in my career. One, it's strange. I don't know if you're into the zodiac at all, but I'm Cancer, so that means I'm really, really shy at home. But you get me out on a stage, look at me now, right? I'm pretty out there, but I was too shy to do love scenes. That's not something you really want to admit, and I never really told anybody. But if you go through my career, I don't think I've ever even kissed anybody on stage. Ever. No, I don't think so. I don't think I've had a love scene. But I don't know how I was maneuvering not to have them, but I didn't have any of those. What did happen to me on Demons was
Demons is a wonderful film.
I just kind of, like in her case, someone was attacking her sexually over and over. I had the reverse. I was killing people over and over and over again. And the poor blind man, I'm a nice girl from Oregon, okay? It's like, you don't rip out the eyes of the blind. You don't rip off the scalp of an old lady. So at one point I said to Dario, I just can't do it anymore. And we were doing a panel, and I was going on and on about how wonderful Lamberto and Dario were. Unlike her experience with her director, they stopped everything for me. And I find out, 20 years later, they're like, we didn't stop anything. It was a prolonged lunch while you got yourself together. It's like, get back up there and do it again. But in another film of mine called Rats, and it's a tiny bit of a spoiler alert. So close your eyes if you haven't seen the last, close your eyes, hello. Close your ears if you haven't seen the last 5 minutes. But I played both characters, okay? You heard that here. And I don't say it publicly often.
Oh, I see that.
Thank you. And when I went on when I went on the audition, so the late Bruno Mattei, who I loved like an uncle, they said to me, so, and in my career, and you'll probably say, why does she have all those names, da-da-da. When I lived in Italy, because Geretta sounds like an Italian name, especially Geretta Giancarlo, people didn't want that on the poster, because then it just looks like something made in the backyard. So they changed my name to Gianna, which is Janna, which to them sounded more exotic, right? So they'd be like, Gianna, okay, we want you in this movie. Do you like animals? And I'm thinking, cat, dog, yeah. Are you comfortable with animals? And I'm thinking, I need to pay the rent, yeah. Good, you're booked. Well, I get there, and they're using live laboratory mice. And if you look at it...
Were they shampoo movie rats?
What shampoo movie rats? What's that mean?
Like shampoo them and blow them dry.
No. These are like, these poor things, Oh my God, no, it gets worse. Hold on. So they're all white, and if you look at the movie, the mice have red eyes. Well, guess what? Black mice don't have red eyes, white ones do. They dyed them. They dyed all of them. And then, this was before, not so much cruelty to animals or vermin, da-da-da-da. So if you look very carefully, like on my character, okay, this is like totally politically correct, and by the way, I am for that, because I remember what people used to say before the politically correct world. Anyway, my character's name is, thank you, my character's name is Chocolate, and I'm kick-ass black shaped chocolate with a machine gun. They throw a bucket of rats at me, I'm like, in every scene, there was no way not to make it work, so they just cut it really quickly. So sometimes, yes, they make you do things over and over and over that you don't want to, but in my case, it was only with animals.
Oh, gosh.
Someone out there has got to have a question for these lovely ladies, and step up to that microphone whenever you're ready.
Or you don't.
I think you're ready. I think this lovely lady has been paying a lot of attention. No?
You can yell it out.
Yeah, yell it out, step up, whichever. But I've got plenty of questions. I could stand up here all night, but no one wants to listen to me.
I see a lot of people that are really in cosplay and in costume. Is there anybody here that wanted to get into acting? Here's a quick chance for you to ask, how's it done? I came from a town so small, honey, we didn't even have sidewalks. So anybody can get into acting from any area. If you'd like to ask a question, now's a good chance, especially if you have kids.
Yay!
So we're all thinking we have to go to Italy. That seems to be the key.
Well, it doesn't hurt, but
Yeah.
I'll give you the local version. Hi there, Mr. Wolfman.
Hey.
All right.
Your characters were usually very empowered and kept killing people and stuff like that, and you were
Revenge.
It was like enraged and stuff, and it was rage things. whole movie genre seems to always kind of stereotype. Like, there's always the sunny team that gets killed at the end. There's always the one team that always survives, the one team girl that always survives at the end. Do you feel that the horror movie genre itself is empowering? And it was, like, do you think we're changing and progressing to be more empowering and yours? And what would you like to see going ahead in the future?
Good question. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I believe someone said with I Spit on Your Grave, there might have been another movie before that too, that it showed a woman that was empowered and didn't get killed in the end. And I like to see the way that is going and not just that she just always dies. And I think it has a ways to go, and I'm all for that.
Now, Miss Keaton there's another continuation of your series coming up soon, correct?
Oh yeah, there is. It's called I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu.
And that is you playing the same character
I'm playing Mom.
in the modern times.
Yes, I'm playing Mom. I have a daughter in her 20s, and I can't say a lot about it, but I know it's going to be a good movie. It's going to be great.
And your co-star in that, I've been following her on social media, and I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, and her name is Sarah Butler, the one that plays my daughter, and then the one that plays the bad girl, Maria Olsen, and they're just excellent actresses. Yeah.
I'm curious with the storyline that we can't really get into for that. I think that I Spit on Your Grave was really like the vanguard for rape revenge movies. And some people
I think
still...
she definitely gets empowered toward the end.
Oh, I feel that way. Some people refuse to accept that narrative, but oh well.
Well, that's going for a long time. In answer to your question, I think, let's see. I think we use the word horror and we kind of blanket it and to cover a large category. And I do think there's room for everybody and everybody do what they want to do. But I would say there's a little bit of a tendency right now for what I call slasher movies. And I don't stone me, but I don't necessarily feel that slasher, but it's under the large tint of horror. But slasher does have a system. It's a scenario that works the same way as Romeo and Juliet does. Two young people, the family don't like them, they can't get together, this isn't going to work well. That's drama. Drama works on archetypes, right? So slasher, don't drink, don't have sex, don't be the black one, and you don't, or you die in the first 5 minutes. That's okay. Star Trek, red shirt, you're dead, and they have to be black too. But I think in horror, there's a lot. Jamie Lee Curtis in The Fog. There's even in The Birds in the end. Hey, a lot of people die. She gets out. There are a lot of strong women in true horror. That come out and we're the monsters, we infect people, it's like film noir, we might trick you into it. And in my particular career, I actually, and my movies are way back, so it's not like this is just happening right now. In my career, I'm either killing it or I'm in.
Me too.
So so it just does different things. My only little thing is, just tiny baby pet peeve is a thing that some of us in the industry call torture porn, and that is where something, male or female, but it tends to be female, is tortured over and over and over and over, and they call that a horror film. It is a film, but to me that's not horror. Something's supposed to scare you, not horrify you, like mentally your psyche. But then again, people say I horrified them. I had them sexy pants and that scary face, so who's to say?
I have a question too, or something to say. I just saw this movie called Don't Breathe.
Oh yeah.
An amazing, powerful movie.
Yes,
and
I've heard of it.
I just couldn't believe it. And then I started thinking about it. I'm thinking, well, is this a horror movie or is this just a scary drama? I'm having that problem, y'all.
Now, I heard that movie is the reference to the French horror movie Martyrs. So I don't know if you guys have seen that to know if there's a connection. I tried to avoid spoilers, so I stopped reading right there.
Yeah.
But I am excited to see it.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, and Mark's
I mean,
the
I'm
same way.
climbing all over my date. He hardly has an arm left. But when the movie is over, I said, "Here's your arm back."
I think that's a pretty successful movie. It makes you
I
kinda
haven't seen a
comfortable.
movie like that in years. But
Okay.
anyway, we're not
highly
going to talk
recommend
about
it.
that.
Highly recommend it. There's a very interesting female character in that. I was reading about that. So.
Korean horror is really, well, Asian horror in
Yeah.
general is in a huge renaissance. So if you haven't downloaded some of that or had the opportunity, because you don't really see it in the cinemas that often unless you're near a art house or something. But Gets at Thirst is one of my favorites. There's just so, yeah, because everyone hears of The Ring or The Call or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But there is some bizarre, wonderfully frightening films that take place in 2 rooms, obviously actors we've never heard of, which is sort of the Italian tradition. Get a bunch of unknowns, that way you're not secretly rooting for anyone, and just have a really good, scary, good time. Really, really good, scary, good time. Well, anything else? Anybody want to know?
And not just about acting, Geretta has also written and directed. And Camille, you have some? Let's see. Are you strictly acting, or have you done production work, or?
Acting, but I am thinking about getting into production. There's a movie I would like to make based off of a book.
Yes.
But I don't want to talk about the book, and I'm
Right.
trying to get the copyrights and
But you
all
have
that.
some things going.
And I want to play a part, of course. You know,
Cast
we'll see how
yourself.
it goes.
Cast yourself. All the big
That's
men
right.
do it. We can do it too.
That's
Cast
right.
yourself.
Well, if nobody has any question, I believe that Lawrence Burgess has a little question for the ladies.
Do you think it's better now for females to get the roles that they want? Do you think it's evolved to the point where gender really doesn't play an issue, or does it mean something else? And if it means something else, what's that extra juice that you need?
Can we expand that to the work that they want, not just the roles that they want?
Sure.
Well, I mean, we were just speaking of women directors, and I mean, I think anyone who's watching or reading or looking at social media of any sort, you know there's very few women directors, very few women producers, very few women that can actually write the check. So until you're in a position that you can say, this is greenlit, which means write the check, we are still in incredibly small numbers, but it doesn't mean that the women that are out there aren't doing incredible work. But the truth of the matter is, for any group of people, if you want your story told, you have to write it. So it starts in the room. If you want stories told about your community, you have to write it. I'm obviously a couple of things, which is Italian and African American and North American. So it's the same for me in all those categories. If I want more black stories, I need to be, as a black person, write one. If I'm a woman and I want to see more female-led stories like the kinds that I like, I have to write them. I'm one of those people that took that plunge. After 10 years in Italy, I came to America. I was lucky enough to apply to the American Film Institute, and I graduated with the MFA in screenwriting and tried to do it. And I wrote and direct and produced a feature film. I made one, but I feel like I did my contribution. Somebody else getting there. But that's what you want to do. When you mention gender versus acting, I mean, it's a visual medium, and I think it's great when people, you know, will play different characters to stretch themselves, but at the same time, I think it's really good. Let people who look like what they look like play what they need to play. And, or, the way I was trained, when you write a screenplay, unless it's really, we still do gender a little bit, but unless it's really necessary, people really don't write ethnicity anymore. You can say nationality, like if you need someone French, you're French, but it doesn't say African American 33, or Asian person 21, kind of peppy, like that's gone, that's all gone, to answer your question. So in that sense, doors, I'm not saying not everybody, but you know, people farther along up here, not here, are doing that. And when I first started, I mean, literally, I mean, Rosemary's a nice name, but I mean, I've played the hooker, the stripper, the hooker with the heart of gold, the hooker not with a heart of gold. I mean, Rosemary essentially is a hooker, although I kick ass, but you know, I start off as a hooker. I mean, I did so many of those that in the United States, my mother, this is a true story, my mother seeing my resume out of New York, and I was doing off Broadway, I was doing all the stuff, and my mother had tears in her eyes, and she said, couldn't they ever just give you something that's not a prostitute? And I went to Italy. And in Italy, no one saw you like that. It's not in their mental concept. Oh, tall, thin, brown. Oh, you must be a prostitute. It was just like, you're American. Now, I couldn't, and again, talking about what you're talking about, like, I can't play what I'm not. So I can't, maybe if I was De Niro, I could, or Meryl Streep. But I can't play what I'm not. My talent's about that big. So I always played the American. But I played soldiers, teachers, dancers, lovers without kissing, monsters, Ripley before there was a Ripley. There's a movie of me, fighting monsters from space. And that's wonderful. And it does take place in a lot of other parts of the world. To be fair to my own country, we are like 51% of the world gross. The kind of money, countries can be run on the kind of money it takes to make a Hollywood movie. And to be fair to financiers, people don't want to take a risk. So that's what independent film's supposed to do. That's the way it's supposed to work. Get up there, make something small, and show them, look, if you do this, the people will come. And that's what makes change, because it's show business. Absolutely, I love Lamberto, I love Dario. I worked with a woman called Ivana Massetti. Most of you don't know this futuristic movie I did that's 2085 in Paris. It's so ahead of its time. People are just dealing with it. My first film that I did is neither sci-fi or horror. I worked with Susan Seidelman. The woman that discovered Madonna in Desperately Seeking Susan. Well, before that, her bigger film was the one that we were in that was called Smithereens. She was a Jordache, she wanted to be a director, and she went to NYU. She was a Jordache jeans model. She had $70,000. Our film went to Cannes, up against the big Bertolucci, like the biggest films ever. So yeah, these are the people Linklater, Jim Jarmusch. These are the people I admire, big time.
I think that we can celebrate that there are some gains as far as females in the industry. Because, you ladies, you were younger when you began, and you were in these cult films. They're still classics now, Rats, Demons, I Spit on Your Grave. And there are still roles for you. And that's wonderful to me. And I think that is growing, at least that we see that there are use for females beyond just their youthful, fertile.
Well, the thing is, I want to throw in there, because you hear the comment all the time about, and you do see it, there'll be a man of a certain age playing the detective, and the wife is something in her 20s, and they don't do the reverse. However, I really will say this. If you get in the industry to be in the industry and not to be famous, you can work forever. Mm-hmm. If you're only in it to be famous, there's a window of time when da-da-da, all looks good. But if you're just in it, you're the teacher, the banker, the best friend, the comedian, and then you're the older person in Titanic. It's a great industry, and you can be in it forever. Just don't be in it for the wrong reason.
In Titanic? I'm going to go back and look for both of you in Titanic.
I'm not wealthy yet.
The elderly. No, we're both still out there, and we're still working.
Yeah.
She does a film a year, or every 2 years, so do I. But things are different. And I just love this industry, because as long as you can show up, there's usually somebody that's happy to have you.
Keep showing up. Keep showing up.
Thank you. And on that note, all right, everybody, thanks for being here your 5th year, and keep showing up.